POV 2019. Things are looking down. Our most recent endeavor was less than satisfactory, to say the least. We were living in dark times, but then out of nowhere, a light in the darkness, a glimmer of hope. The Mandalorian Season 1 came out. Oh boy, that was nice to see. POV April 2023.
It's a party!
Okay, now let's take a step back and ask ourselves, how did we end up here?
Yeah, it's rewind time.
2019. Again. Now, we gotta ask, in all of this mess, how did we get something somewhat good? That's the thing, we didn't. Haha. Homeboy John, very successful person. The reason the MCU is a thing. He came in and was like, can I do my own thing? Pretty please?
No.
Sure.
Okay, yeah, whatever. You won't beat Ray.
Just like that, John went to work. But unlike the great Rian Johnson and Kathleen Kennedy, John had a different approach. No destroying the past, no rehashing, no hidden agenda, no recruiting those who hate Star Wars. Instead, he decided to create a fun and original story, with the only agenda being good storytelling. And doing this with people who loved Star Wars while keeping them on a tight leash. He even brought George Lucas back, which is probably the main reason it was so good. No one at LucasArts expected him to succeed, to the point where they weren't even given enough Stormtrooper armor for that final episode. They had to ask the 501st fan club to come in and film because they were so underestimated. But needless to say, they were successful. A little bit too successful. The Mandalorian completely blew up. And the Baby Yoda fever was going crazy. Everyone wanted a piece of that. And they didn't even have official merchandise. Because one, Jon Favreau didn't want Baby Yoda's existence spoiled. But mainly two, they didn't expect it to blow up like this. If they knew it was gonna blow up, they would have completely ignored number one. Gotta reach them quarter quotas, you know? And then this bitch crawled in. This absolute snake crawls in, trying to claim the credit, as if she had anything to do with this.
Yeah.
You had to re-engage with Star Wars after people hadn't seen it for how long since the original trilogy?
What are you doing here?
1983, and then we're 99.
I was in high school.
Well, I could speak to that because I was around with the movies that were in between.
What in the goddamn? Why are you flexing about Indiana Jones?
I don't think
you were just the coffee lady.
Stop thinking
what?
about whether he would
this
do
isn't
more
relevant.
Star Wars.
All the breakthroughs that he had
Well, I'll
starting.
start by saying
We'll
when
go
I
around.
came
This
in.
is like a party game.
No,
We'll
when
go
I
around.
came-
Everybody say one.
When I came
Game.
into the company, I was astounded to find out that there were over 126 patents. Literally new technology that he had created.
It's
That's
like
pretty
Edison's
astounding.
lab.
And before this bitch was literally at the chopping block. Her stuff was doing bad. Literally killing the franchise. Actually, Star Wars, we all have our preferences, and she's literally CEO, so she's like responsible for all of this. No, you're this is not, her stuff is not Star Wars, and she had nothing to do with Mando Season 1, okay? Okay. But anyways, Mando blows up, thanks to Homeboy John, the man calling the shots. And the success of this saves Kennedy's job, because there was a big success while she was, technically CEO. And then the company completely shifts gears. I am a genius, Kennedy proclaimed. The fans are just sick of Star Wars movies. Star Wars fatigue. Not bad movie fatigue.
Right, yeah, of course.
And then because Kathleen Kennedy starts regaining power, Jon Favreau is put on a tight leash. Sorry, John, but I'm running things now. It's time to pump out 1 million TV shows, regardless of quality. It's gonna be great. Basically, his show's been hijacked. He doesn't care anymore.
Statement: apathy is death.
Apathy is death.
It is now the Mando and Baby Yoda show, permanently. And it was not supposed to be that, like, at all. And then Kathleen Kennedy runs the show now. And since he's no longer the actual showrunner, he doesn't care anymore.
Apathy is death.
And that's not even mentioning how they screwed him at every turn. Whether it be firing Gina Carano and forcing him to rewrite an entire show in most of Season 3 of The Mandalorian, to, oh man, no, Baby Yoda makes too much money, man, we gotta put him in, man. You know, just completely compromising the story and universe that was being built. That's how we got to the point where Jack Black and Lizzo are in the show. That would have never happened with George Lucas around. Like, okay, so that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover. Basically, show got hijacked, stolen. Favreau doesn't have any power, nor does he care.
Apathy is death.
And the show is literally just a vessel for marketing, whether it be for Baby Yoda merchandise or for their other shows that are, that are bad because, you know, bad people are working on them, the bad guys. Okay, but I gotta address this. I'm sure there's a good handful of you guys who are like, but what about Filoni? Don't you mean Favreau and Filoni? They were the ultimate team. Okay, I'm sorry to be a hater, but Filoni is actually the worst, okay?
These are facts, and facts don't care about your feelings.
Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau just argued over whether or not Luke Skywalker is actually a Jedi based on his training.
The interesting question is how you define, right, when someone is a Jedi.
Well, Grogu definitely trained with a Jedi.
He trained when he was young, right?
And also
However,
with
Luke trained, and then Yoda didn't confirm that he was a Jedi. Remember, he says, "Oh, you think you're a Jedi? You're not so fast."
But then he also said,
when you're
gone, you'll be the last Jedi.
Yeah.
He is the worst. His whole thing is that whenever he is a lieutenant to somebody, he does an alright job. But the second he's in charge of something himself, where he's actually the boss, it's terrible. It's always terrible. And that might confuse you because, well, Filoni is responsible for Clone Wars. The Clone Wars is great. Yeah, you know, Ahsoka's awesome. He's responsible for Ahsoka. Ahsoka's his baby. And you are right. Clone Wars is awesome and great, and Ahsoka is great, but that's not because of him, like, at all. Filoni answered to Lucas. Literally, everything in the show had to be run by him first, and then they'd put it in. And not only that, George Lucas would then give his input and change things. I don't think most of you guys realize how involved George Lucas was in that show. Like, he was very involved. And there were other people that worked on the show. But there's so much misinformation that Filoni is responsible for, you know, the Clone Wars being good, when in reality, that is not the case at all. He's just an arrogant douchebag nerd whose ego got completely bloated because every time somebody praised the Clone Wars, well, technically, he had a high position on the staff, so he would always get the praise. Every time people would praise The Mandalorian, it was like, oh, Jon and Dave. I don't think people realize Jon Favreau carried. He's on another level than Filoni. They are not anywhere near equals. If you watch the interviews and the behind the scenes, it is very clear that Jon was running the show. Okay, and side tangent, there's this whole weird culture around people writing video essays like, oh, the genius of Filoni. Oh, Filoni intentionally made her unlikable, only to make it even better when we finally did like her. No, he did not do that. It was not a calculated decision. Like, being realistic here, you do not intentionally make a character insufferable at the start of a show. Like, you do not do that. It does not. No, in reality, what happened was they accidentally made like a little bit of a Mary Sue character, and then some unsung hero in the staff came in, you know, and helped out and fixed her. And we can see this so clearly just by looking at something like Rebels, where he had complete control over it. He didn't have to answer to Lucas. He didn't have to answer to anyone. He got lazy. He didn't try at all. He was just plain bad. Same with the Bad Batch. In the Bad Batch, get it? Because it's an awful show. And nobody talks about how he is lame. He is not cool. His stuff on his own, he is bad. He is not good.
These are facts, and facts don't care about your feelings.
I guess not enough of you guys are taking the black pill because not enough people are talking about this. Everyone I know in real life, they agree with me. But anytime I look online, it's nothing but Filoni praise and, oh man, Filoni should take over the mantle of LucasArts. Oh man, oh Filoni's the greatest, Filoni's the greatest. No, he is not. I don't understand. Oh jeez, man, we're around that 10-minute mark. I did not mean to rant about Filoni that much. That was, most of that wasn't even the script, man. That just came from the heart right there. Wow. Alright, well, like and subscribe, fellas. See ya.